And we have also considered the public and private regulation that decision makers may undertake in order to facilitate and make it easier the coexistence and the segregation along the supply chain. Well, in fact, in terms of segregation along the supply chain, stakeholders may choose various strategies. If they have dedicated factory plants, they can easily segregate GM and non-GM materials between these plants. This is easy, but in fact it may lead to increased cost because they may have to transport the raw material from large distances, and depending on the market requirement, they may be facing undercapacity of some factory plants. They can also use various production lines within the same factory plant. It's easier to manage, but it's not always possible to undertake such a strategy. For example, the starch industry only use one single production line per plant. And the third strategy is to use within the same factory plant, to process within the same factory plant both GM and the non-GM material. And that's this specific case that we have analyzed in CoExtra, because that's the best way to to give flexibility to the management of supply chain. In terms of outcomes or results, we can point out 3 or 4 points. The first point is that, generally speaking, coexistence is technically feasible for most supply chain. But from the economic point of view, this coexistence is only viable if on the marketplace there is a price differentiation between GM and non-GM materials. And this is not always the case. For example, for the feed, for example, for the compound feed supply chain, there is no price differentiation right now because the animal products are not labeled, and so it's not worth for stakeholders to segregate. And some of them have stopped, in fact, segregating GM and non-GM supply chains for animal feeding. So the second major results I'd like to highlight is that the chain organizations, from the upstream producer, the farmer, to the downstream retailer or consumer, the chain organizations, chain organizations play a crucial role for improving or maintaining the level of compliance of the final product with respect to the official threshold. And for example, even if the non-GM stuff coming up from the farm gate, at the farm gate, is not complying with the 0.9 official threshold, by choosing appropriate management strategies, stakeholders can, at the end of the day, for the final product, comply with this threshold. And on the contrary, even if the non-GM materials delivered by farmers comply with the official threshold, you may end up at the end of the supply chains with a poor level of compliance. It all depends on the strategies stakeholders undertake along the supply chains. And of course, to cope with this challenge, CoExtra design models and tools for stakeholders in order to help them managing coexistence. And for example, our results show that with a good knowledge of the upstream distributions of adventitious presence in the raw material, for example, for maize, if you know very precisely the distributions of adventitious presence in the raw material, you can optimize the strategies for segregating GM and non-GM product. And you can use automatic downgrading strategies and consequently save some analytical control through PCR. Such an information on the upstream raw material can be obtained through the gene flow models that have been developed before CoExtra, but that CoExtra improved, in fact. And so through these tools, or modeling tools from the farmers to the end user, so we have designed various modeling tools, so we can optimize the strategies and minimize the costs at the end of the day. And so such tools are now will be available for stakeholders at the end of the CoExtra project.